The Suicide Squad, not to be confused with Suicide Squad, which came out in 2016. And also, for those of you who don't know and are just dumb enough to not catch on to it by now, this is not a sequel. It's basically an entirely different film and an entirely different take on this universe. So it's a completely new thing and just really not related to that one at all. And thankfully, it is a considerably better movie as well. I really was just not a fan of the first Suicide Squad movie. I did find some things to enjoy about it. In fact, one of the things I did enjoy about it was Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, and she is returning in this movie, and she's a very welcome return. But yeah, overall, I just did not like that movie very much, and thankfully this is a lot better. And this is directed by James Gunn, who you guys know from the first two Guardians of the Galaxy movies, both movies that I really like a lot. He's also directed some other pretty interesting movies, like I don't know if you guys remember the movie Super with Rainn Wilson. Pretty weird movie, but actually kind of good, I think. So I was very excited to see that he was directing this, and just to see this whole new take on these characters, even though these are pretty much all different characters. Just to see kind of a refreshing look on this world. A lot of the reviews for this movie has been positive. A lot of people like this, and I've heard some people saying that this is even the best movie in the DCEU, which, if you don't know, is the DC Extended Universe. I can maybe put the movies up somewhere like right here if you want to know like all the films that are in that universe. And overall, I was definitely satisfied with this movie. I did like it. I had a good time with it, but I don't think it's quite as good as everyone says it is. And with regards to the other movies in this universe, I don't even think I would say it's my favorite. I don't think it's a perfect movie. It does have some things I think could have been better, but I'll talk about that later. First, I want to talk about what I liked. I briefly mentioned Margot Robbie coming back as Harley Quinn, and I think she's very good in this role. I think even better this time around, just because the writing has vastly improved from the first Suicide Squad movie, with Idris Elba as the character named Bloodsport, who's a really cool character, and I love the design of the helmet he wears. It looks very much like the head of the aliens from the Alien movies with Sigourney Weaver. I think that's so cool, and I mean, honestly, I'm kind of jealous. Like, I really want that helmet. John Cena plays a character known as Peacemaker, and he's also, surprisingly, very good. I haven't really seen that many movies with John Cena, honestly, so I didn't really know how good of an actor he was, but he's very good in this one. And him and Idris kind of have a cool little dynamic in the movie. They feed off of each other well, and there's some funny moments with those characters. Also, surprisingly, kind of dramatic moments. Like, as much as this movie does have comedy in it, there are a surprising amount of times when it gets very dark and very serious. Another standout to me was Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher 2. And I really liked this character, especially her backstory and what's revealed about her past relationship with her father. It's kind of one of the sweeter parts of the movie, and I think will definitely tug on some people's heartstrings. We also have David Dastmalchian, who plays the Polka Dot Man. And this is a really, silly concept for a character. They really could have messed this up bad, easily, but it's pulled off, I think, pretty well. Basically, his power is that he can throw polka dots, and, it's like his weapon is throwing polka dots. These, I guess, very deathly, hazardous polka dots. Could have been really cheesy and stupid, but I think they pulled it off well. We also have Sylvester Stallone. I did not know he was actually the voice of this character of King Shark. And even though the character is pretty cliched, where, on the outside he looks to be like this intimidating and violent, dangerous character, but then he's actually kind of lovable and lighthearted, I still found him to be lighthearted and lovable. And I liked the non-linear format that the story was told in. For instance, right after the opening scene, I believe it goes back 3 days, and just the way it kind of jumps time at certain moments in the movie. It doesn't do it too often to make it feel repetitive, so I thought that was a very unique format to tell the story in. And there's also some really cool visual cues with these time jumps. I don't think this happens in the movie, but for instance, someone will look up at a tree, and then in the leaves it'll say 8 minutes earlier or whatever. Some really cool signals as to the different time jumps that we're going to and from. And another thing that I liked about this movie that I don't think the other Suicide Squad movie did as well was its not over-reliance on music, because that other one just was filled to the brim with all these different songs. I heard some people saying at the time that it sounded like the director was just putting in his mixtape, his favorite songs in the movie. Just completely random and not really fitting in with what was going on with the story. And this movie doesn't depend on big hit songs like that. It really mainly goes by its own score. So that was really nice to see, and the score as a whole I did think was good and fit well with the movie. Now, if we're going into some of the things of this movie that I think could have been better, I would say that not all of the comedy lands. It's not really hit or miss. I would say probably 60 to 70% of the comedy works in this movie, but then, the other 30 to 40% didn't land that well for me. And I wish that, modern comic book movies didn't rely so much on comedy. It's been a long time since I've seen a new superhero movie that wasn't so dependent on comedy and on jokes. That's why I'm really looking forward to the new Batman movie with Robert Pattinson. I think that movie looks great, and it looks dark and grim, and I think that's something we really need in the comic book film community, I guess. So the comedy was fine, but just some of it I didn't like that much, and I didn't need all of it necessarily, or as much of it. And that's a character I think a lot of people are gonna like and latch onto very much. And another notable flaw with this movie is I think its inability to really pick a clear-cut villain and a clear-cut bad guy for the overall story. It, in a way, kind of reminded me of Spider-Man 3. There's like 3 or 4 different villains in that movie. But in this case, it feels like they just really didn't know who they wanted it to be. They didn't know who they wanted to pick as the clear-cut villain, who we knew, like, this is the person they got to go after, this is who they got to take down. We have Viola Davis in this movie, who is the director of the Task Force X program, who she actually did return from the original. It's another returning cast member. I forgot about that, though. I just now read it. And there are moments where it seems like they're trying to kind of make her the bad guy. And I did actually think she was good in the movie, but, like, her character is just so typical, that typical kind of leader of this program that's very demanding and strict. They're really like willing to do whatever it takes to succeed in the mission, and willing to take down whoever goes against the mission. That kind of character. I also have Peter Capaldi as the Thinker, and again, performance is good. And I did really actually like the prosthetics with this character. Like, he has these things in his head. I don't know what they do, but just it looked very cool. Like, the makeup, the design of all that's very impressive. But they have him trying to kind of be a bad guy. And then we also have this kind of supernatural element to the movie with these different creatures. I won't talk about it too much. I don't want to do any spoilers. But the movie even kind of goes the route of making some of the good characters seem kind of bad and villainous. But going beyond that and talking more into the things that I didn't like, there was this one subplot with Harley Quinn and this other character. I don't even remember his name, honestly. But I found that subplot to be very much filler and just not necessary to the overall arc of that these characters go in. Although this subplot does lead to a very cool action scene with Harley kind of breaking out of this building, sort of like a prison break style action scene. It was really cool. It was super bloody, and the visual effects and really in the entire movie are all very good. And I think my last flaw that I want to talk about is that the movie didn't really stick the landing that I wanted it to, or that I think it thought it did. It's played up to be this big epic action ending like pretty much all comic book films nowadays. And while certainly parts of it are interesting, I didn't feel the stakes that I think they were wanting us to feel, and also, I do think it goes on for a little bit too long. But yeah, I think I'm going to just stop right there with my negatives. I don't want to come off as too negative on this review, because I did actually like this movie. I did enjoy it, like I said, a lot more than the other Suicide Squad movie we got 5 years ago. It had much better and much more memorable characters, very good acting, good direction, a good sense of style, and very pleasing to look at visually. This is overall an entertaining movie with some parts that feel a little bit uneven, and like I said, also parts that feel very filler. And overall, I did definitely like this movie. I would recommend going to see it, and I'm going to give the Suicide Squad a B. So let me know what you think if you have seen this movie. How do you think it compares to the other Suicide Squad that we got 5 years ago? And do you think this is the best DCEU movie we've got? Personally, I don't think I would go there, but I mean, definitely one of the better ones, I think, so far. Yeah, just let me know everything in the comments. Yeah, that's all I got. Take it easy, everyone. Peace out.